You're welcome. Yeah, happy to be here. I am wondering if you guys can hear me okay because I'm outside and I'm near a river.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. So, yeah, when I first met Kelvin, I was in what I would probably describe as a mental health crisis. And for me, as a therapist, how I just define a crisis is when you're in a condition, in other words, just a state of being, where you feel you're unable to function. You can't, it's hard to leave the house. It's hard to go to work and focus. It's hard to maintain, like and social engagements and show up for the people you care about and that you love. Um, because you're so disrupted by mental health symptoms. And for me, that looked like a very phobic, fearful, anxiety induced state where I wasn't suicidal, so I didn't really qualify for a residential treatment program, but I was very fearful and anxious beyond what I could really ever describe in words. And I think that at some points it could probably be described as like a state of terror. And it was all centered around a particular fear that I have, which, also as a therapist, I understand our fears are never what we think they are. It usually is a manifestation of nervous system dysregulation for years and years and years. And then eventually it manifests into what they used to call like a nervous breakdown, right? So that's another way that it might be described what I was going through. And when I reached out to Kelvin, I was pretty I was in a state of despair because I am a therapist. I thought, well, I should know how to get myself out of this situation. But what I always say to my clients is like, you can't think yourself into comfort. You can't think yourself out of pain. And so there are certain practices that I now have in my life that are staples of how I take care of myself every day. And one of them is this meditation. And life's busy. So for me to do something every day, twice a day, it means it's working because otherwise I would not have the discipline nor really, frankly, the desire to meditate the way that I do if I hadn't had results that were like truly life changing for me. And at the beginning, when I was super phobic, I was meditating for anywhere between like 2 to 5 minutes, and then I would do the rest period for 7 minutes. And when that would happen, I talked to Kelvin a lot at the beginning. I needed a lot of reassurance and help from Kelvin at the beginning, especially early on, because I wanted it to work yesterday. So that's the first thing I'll say is I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing it, but like, what am I supposed to notice anything? And he helped me be patient. I thought like, let me just get to the 20-minute meditation. What's 2 minutes gonna do? But for me, especially early on, I felt the most benefit in the rest period. And I'm the kind of person who's like, well, give me something to do about it. What do I do about it? Right. And so it was really counterintuitive for me at the beginning because it's not really much doing. It's actually just letting go, like Kelvin said at the beginning. And I was an insomniac when this was going on because I was so anxious. I had way too much adrenaline and cortisol rushing through my body that I could not sleep. And so I would be, up all night, but then I had the meditation practice. Like the next morning when I'd wake up to meditate, I'd do it for a few minutes and then I'd do the rest period. And like slowly but surely, like a few weeks in, I started to sleep during the rest period. I'd pass out on the floor, laying down for like an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours. And that was a win for me. I'd call him or text him and be like, guess what? Like I actually slept, after the meditation. And so what I can say is like the nervous system, it's something that takes a lot of time to unwind. That's kind of one way that I like to look at it is and Kelvin talks a lot about how we have like a lot of stuff that's just been kind of like sitting there and accumulating for years and years, depending on when we come in and start meditating. And the nervous system, especially when healing from like anxiety and trauma, it has to go slow. It has to do it slowly. It takes in new information, which is like the meditation practice, and then it tries to figure out what to do with it. So slowly but surely, I started to increase my time, but I was a year in before I increased my time, and when I increased it, it was just by a couple of minutes. So I guess the thing that I want to drive home to anyone who can relate to being anxious, traumatized, phobic, is that the body is really starting to get used to a new way of being, even if it's a positive being, it just takes like a practice of patience and letting go and going slow. And then it takes time for that to integrate into our lives. And so now, fast forward, I'm still not up to 20 minutes. I meditate for at the most 10 minutes and then rest for 7. But a lot of days it's still 5 to 8 minutes a day. And that twice a day just does it for me. And then if I don't meditate, it's become food for me, or sleep. If I don't meditate, I'm like, oh, I need something. Like my body just tells me, oh, okay. And I don't even need a reminder anymore, because now I just know, oh, right, it's time to meditate. My body just knows. So it's pretty incredible. I, over the years, have tried a lot of different meditation practices, and I have some I've tried some trauma-informed meditations that have been helpful, but this to me is life-changing because I've never had a meditation experience that felt just so easy and natural. It took a little while, a couple months before I started to feel like it was easy and natural. But even at the beginning, my biggest challenge was I wanted to make it more difficult and complicated than it really was. I just kept thinking, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. What is this? And so now I just realized that is kind of the point. It's supposed to be really easy. And yeah, and I can just give you guys an update. I'm not phobic anymore. I'm out here fucking enjoying my life, and it's great. And I I think that at the time when I was really down and out and phobic, it took a village. I had other things too, I had therapy, the acupuncture, and I called it in as a part of my village of support. Some of those things I was doing early on helped me get through, but I don't do them anymore. And there's a few things that now I do every single day, and this is absolutely one of them. And it's changed my life. And as a therapist, I'm starting to create a resource page. And I want my clients to learn. I can't make my clients do anything really, but I want them to learn this because I just think I work with a lot of clients like me. And so I'm going to put Kelvin's meditation practice on my website, because I think for especially highly anxious people, this is one of the most I don't know, just powerful practices that we can ever incorporate into our lives. And yeah, and I could say I met some cool people along the way, Kelvin being one of them. But even till this day, I have a lifelong friend now, her, Kelvin Gemma, who I talk to almost every day. So it's it's also interesting how it's brought some of us together too, who know really extreme suffering. And just want to say to anyone who is feeling like they are extremely suffering right now, that it takes time, and it will pass, especially if you have a powerful practice like this to help support you and get you through. And that's all I got. Anything else, Kelvin, before I sign off?
No, that's great. Thank you, Chelsea. Thanks for interrupting your walk and sharing a few minutes with everybody. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to. If anyone has any questions too, I just, you can send people to me if they have, my story, Kelvin. So if people have similar fears or whatever,
Yeah.
like you did with me and Gemma, I'd love to pass it on. So I just want to throw that out there too.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Chelsea.